Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we will be discussing another gym in Texas that has been under investigation for over 3 years. They are still under investigation, though no longer in the public eye. I'd like to put a warning out before this video begins, because this video does discuss accusations of sexual abuse. This may not be suitable for all audiences, so viewers' discretion is advised. In the peak months of COVID, accusations began hitting media about a gym in Texas known as Capital Gymnastics. In these interviews, many secrets in the gym became public. Today, we will be discussing some of these accusations with a follow-up of what had happened 2 years later. Abby Hillis said that she had a weird feeling, and now looking back on things, understanding that her coach would hold fashion shows for gymnasts and treat them like sexual objects was not okay. Hyder, her coach of many years, showed up with a bag of lace tank tops and miniskirts, telling the girls that she trained with that they would be holding a fashion show. She complied, even though my body knew that it was wrong. Like, this isn't right, but this is a man we trust. We must comply. It wasn't just Hillis. Over 7 anonymous gymnasts have confirmed of this fashion show happening in the early 2000s. One gymnast, who was told that they were too big to participate, was forced to watch as her teammates felt physically violated while trying on these outfits. All gymnasts in the video I discuss have shown a pattern of sexual abuse, just in different degrees. Gymnasts were given unsolicited shoulder and leg massages while being injured. Touching of the buttocks or breasts when being spotted was a common habit that Hyder practiced, though no other coach had did this in the gym. Hillis, one of the first gymnasts to come forward, and now a coach herself, spreads awareness of how toxic these coaching styles were. She also released a podcast in 2020 detailing of these harsh treatments that she and others had during the time there. During this time, over 19 gymnasts were interviewed in a safe sport investigation. This included Hillis, and in these interviews that spanned over 40 years of abuse, gymnasts expanded on multiple counts of sexual abuse. Gymnasts were forced to jump on trampolines because it would make our boobs bounce. They were told to try on skimpy clothes in front of them. These clothes were not leotards, but clothes that belonged to Hyder's ex-wife, Amy. This ex-wife, Amy Duval, a former gymnast of Hyder's, was sexually molested by her coach. Emotionally abused to believe that she loved him, he began flirting with Amy at the age of 15. She felt uncomfortable, but by the disguise of gymnastics, it made her believe that she had trusted him because he was her coach. She later regrets trusting him. One of these massage sessions that would happen often by themselves ended up with a kiss on her lips. At this time, she was a minor. After getting a full-ride scholarship to LSU, he emotionally abused her and forced her to leave the school and marry him instead in 1986. Although some allegations like Amy's started when Hyde first began coaching, most of this began in 1991 when he moved to Austin, Texas with Amy and began coaching at a gym called Capital Gymnastics. The owners saw no problem or crush in the relationship between Amy and him. At the time, she was barely an adult. Among those who fell a victim were J.J. Conley and Sierra Hill. Many others stayed anonymous. These poor girls were put in compromising situations. They were forced to make poor decisions, such as underage drinking, under Hyde's supervision. When parents came forward about the allegations, the two owners, Jim and Cheryl Jarrett, claimed that he would be released and never to set foot again in another gymnastics facility owned by Capital. In a 2020 local interview, the owner of the gym, Jim Jarrett's, stated that he believes the gymnasts and their parents misinterpreted Hyder's style of coaching, and that he does not believe that the complaint indicates the coach engaged in sexual misconduct. We would have known about it, and we would have received a complaint about it. Gymnasts were never in harm's way. Hyder, after being released from Capital Gymnastics, was not officially banned from the sport. Rather, he moved to Arkansas and began coaching at another facility. Though the gymnastics facility remains anonymous, following the media's outcry, the gym released him. Jason Jarrett, who was the chief of operations at Capital Gymnastics, stated that he did receive complaints while Hyder was at the gym, but that the coach who voiced their concerns didn't specify the nature of the incident as sexually inappropriate. According to Jason's statement in the interview, Hyder left the gym and they both agreed to move him to other roles. Hyder began teaching at Capitol Cedar Park Gym, another location, and worked maintenance tasks. Though he was no longer coaching, both owners lied when stating that he would never work at one of their gym locations ever again. When the media became rampant on the story, USAG placed him on the suspension list. Hyder was temporarily suspended from coaching. Though USAG suspended him, they commented that it wasn't a finding of misconduct, but rather a precautionary measure, while the investigation at Safe Sport continued. Hyder was a manipulative coach, and Hyder had also a way of reassuring parents that gymnasts were of the utmost importance, even volunteering to help with housework for gymnast parents that had been needing the help. Sierra Hill stated, in those situations, things did not change. They'd probably believe Hyder instead of us. Of the 19-plus gymnasts who spoke up, they stated that they did not feel their concerns would be heard or addressed if they spoke to the owners of the gym. The gym owners were toxic leaders. Jim stated himself that gymnasts interpreted Hyder's behavior as inaccurate, that these fashion shows never happen. Jason recalls the incident as gymnasts seeing a bag of clothes in the trunk of Hyder's car, and the coach making a joke of the girls to try them on before he shut the trunk. Jim and his family also acknowledged that while Hillis complained about the abuse at their house in 2016, that he does not recall her discussing the fashion show. Hillis, on the other hand, states that she did. The coach should have acknowledged the complaints and filed a report, instead of brushing it under the rug. Unfortunately, the problems didn't just reside within the coach and the owners. When this article came out in 2020, the Safe Sport investigation had already been going on for over 19 months. Almost 2 years with a lack of transparency. Gymnasts who tried to contact Safe Sport, requesting updates on the case, were not contacted. Months into the investigation, headlines broke out, and gymnasts became worried that their interviews would be leaked amid the poor handling of Safe Sport's investigation. A former gymnast, one who was first to report it, stated that once the public broke out with the case, they all of a sudden gave us a new case investigation without any reason as to why. When the second investigation became public, those 19-plus gymnasts were reevaluated and told to give a new interview. This forced them back to discuss the rough childhood memories that they endured, an interview that should have never been repeated. As we can see, and as always, these gyms don't just reside with one-sided problems. The two owners of Capital Gymnastics were released from work in positions with USAG in 2020, then later rehired in 2021 when the public took on other problems like Maggie Haney and no longer discussing Capital Gymnastics. The two owners should have been investigated by USAG for failing to protect their gymnasts. Instead, USAG hired them onto other positions within the organization. Hyder should have been banned immediately from the sport, or at least temporarily suspended. Instead, he was let go and went to coach at another gym in Arkansas. Safe Sport should have completed the investigation well before this has made headlines. Instead, they neglected for 19 months and changed its direction when things got bad. They started everything over, as if they never even started the investigation. So where does everything stand now? Well, as of today, Hyder is still listed under pending resolutions in USAG. In this tab, it never lists the date that this has started. We do know that some investigation like Maggie Haney's, who was in the media around the same year, have been closed. So why hasn't his, if it's been well over 2 years? He is currently suspended from all contact, but we know that this is a loose term because of things that have happened before in the past with Maggie. So what's next? Well, Capital Gymnastics is still open. All 3 locations are still accepting new gymnasts. The Jarretts still own the gym, and they rank themselves in the top 10 best training programs in the U.S. At least, this is what's said on the website. We don't know Hyder's whereabouts or if he is currently coaching. I didn't dig too much into his social media just because I tend to kind of separate the personal and professional life from the channel. And of course, the Safe Sport investigation is still open. But that's just it. Unlike some other cases like Haney's, it's still open. And though some of us cannot testify against Safe Sport because we did not attend the gym, spreading awareness is something that we can still do. And of course, by spreading awareness, it shows that these gymnasts are not dying in vain with their statements, that someone, somewhere, will find justice for them. Because Hyder should have been permanently banned. The Jarrett's gym should be under review, unlike other gyms that are in practice. And gymnasts like that should never be treated like this again.